Welcome back, guys. So I'm going to be taking a look at the new champion system with you guys, and I want to show it to you in a way that hopefully you guys can see all the different passives and all the different things that we can slot from here, and on top of it, you guys have a good understanding of how the new champion system works. A couple things before we take a look at the system first. It's still going to cost 300 gold to respec your champion points. There is now no cap on your champion points, so that's a big change. And the champion system has 3 different sections now instead of 9. And these sections have been split into some very specific things. So we're going to start off in the blue section, which is the warfare section. As soon as we click in here, you can see there is a ton of new stars that have been added with the champion system. Now, we can't actually access all of these right off the bat. The way that this new star system works is we have to put in enough points into these beginning stars. I think it's 10 for each one of them, and this will unlock the ability for us to use any of these stars that kind of spread from out of there. We also have stars that you can zoom in on, and they have their own kind of special little abilities, and you can see once we start putting stats in here, it opens up some more options as well. So it's basically like a tree within a tree for the champion system. And not just that, but I like how things are branching because it will kind of make the builds a lot more unique than just kind of generically having the same kind of champion setup between all your builds like we used to. Now, there has been a big change, however, to how you use your champion system. If we look at it here, we have the yellow stars to start with. The yellow stars you can't actually equip as abilities. These are just passives that you have all the time. However, if you look at the blue stars that we have access to here as well, you can see that once we put enough points in to reach the threshold, which is 50 points, it becomes slottable at the top of our bar here. Now, that's just part of the champion system kind of build craft that's going to be a big part of making builds now. So you're going to have kind of limited options on what you can pick, but you still will have passives that are going to be there if you just put points in them too. And finally, in the warfare tree, there's 3 stars out by themselves here that don't seem to connect to anything at all. Before we look at all the stars here, I just want to say I like this system a lot. It leaves for a lot of different branching, so we can start off by just investing in our base healing, and then as our champion points grow, or as we begin to grow our build, we can invest different things into our trees here and just continue to augment and adjust our build. We have like a complete healing tree in the staff here, and we'll take a look at all of the other ones too, but I really like this system because not only is it a lot deeper than the previous champion system, but there is a lot of room to grow here. Now, not only do you slot 4 different abilities for your warfare tree here, but you'll also have 4 different abilities to slot from your crafting tree, and you'll also have 4 different abilities to slot from your fitness tree on top of these yellow stars, which will just provide you with passive stats. And finally, the last big thing that I want to note about the champion system is that jump points are now gone. It shows you exactly how many points you need to invest in order to get the bonus, and no longer do you have to worry about rounding down to the nearest percent like with the previous champion system. It just pretty much makes it simpler. If you want to get more Magicka, 260 more, you put 10 more points in, and you'll get another 260, and so on and so forth. So, without further ado, let's take a look at all of the different passives that we get from the champion system. Now, we're going to start on the left-hand side here in the Blessed passive. Now, this will increase our healing by 1% per stage to a maximum of 5. And then you can see once we put points in here, it branches out to Soothing Tide. This will increase the healing done of our area of effect heals by 2% per a stage. And then the next blue star we have access to from there will grant us 33 weapon and spell damage to our healing abilities per a stage. And then finally, at the end of this staff, we have Foresight. After you drink a potion, the cost of your Magicka and Stamina healing abilities used within 6 seconds are reduced by 75%. And this becomes kind of that really powerful passive, I guess, you get to once you invest in your healer tree. Now, something I want to note about this is that it has a different threshold than some of the other abilities. In order for you to get this ability at all, you must invest a full 50 champion points into it. I like this approach because it adds different kinds of strengths and values to the different passives that we can get here, and it makes certain things that are very strong a lot more expensive to attain. Of course, this stuff can be balanced out in the future too, but I just like this approach because it's not so linear. Now, if we come back down the staff here, the next thing we have is Cleansing Revival. Healing a target under 25% health removes all harmful effects from them, and this is on a 24-second cooldown. That is really awesome. A purge for pretty much everybody in the champion tree. Coming back down the side, we have Focused Mending. Increase our healing done with single target heals by 2% per a stage to a maximum of 5. And then in the middle of the staff, we have Swift Renewal. Increase your healing done with healing over time effects by 2% per a stage to a maximum of 5. So that pretty much covers the healing tree. Let's move in to Eldritch Insight. This will give us 260 maximum magicka per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. And then there is, of course, the stamina counterpart, Tireless Discipline, giving us 260 max stamina per stage to a maximum of 5 stages. And then the last yellow star that we have here is 160 critical rating per a stage to a max of 5 stages. So just a lot of base stat to kind of add with these ones. And I'm just going to quickly take a look at the ones over on the side here. These will also allow you to add more maximum stat to your build. Arcane Supremacy will give you 26 per a point spent, and you can go to a maximum of 50 points in these guys as well. And then Endless Endurance for 26 stamina per a point spent. And of course, Untamed Aggression. Increase your weapon and spell damage by 3 per a point. This is awesome because this is kind of a hybrid passive. I like that a lot. And this also goes to, of course, the maximum of 50 for 150 weapon and spell damage. So we're actually getting weapon and spell damage from our champion points. We're actually getting a lot of base stats from the CP here. Now we're going to go back over to Precision, take a look to the left of it, Reeving Blows. When you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of the damage done. This is a very cool passive. It, of course, is going to cost you 50 champion points to get access to. The next one we have is Wrathful Strike, 33 weapon and spell damage to your damaging abilities per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. Again, a really nice kind of hybrid damage dealing increase. Occult Overlord, whenever you kill an enemy under the effect of a status effect, they violently explode for 2,000 Oblivion damage per stage to all other enemies in 4 meters. And this can be upgraded 2 stages, so you can, I guess, double the value of it. The next one we have is Backstabber. Increase your critical damage done by 3% per stage against enemies you are flanking to a max of 5 stages. That's 15% crit damage from behind. That's a massive damage boost for a flank. And then we have Fighting Finesse. Increase your critical damage and critical healing done by 2% per stage to a maximum of 5 stages as well. Now, these trees here you can't have access to unless you're going to spend some points in Precision. So we're going to head to the right here. I'm actually going to skip the Extended Might. We're going to take a look at the 2 purple kind of nebulas, I think. I'm not sure what to call them afterwards. But we're going to go all the way out to the Deadly Aim passive on this side here. Increase your damage done with single target attacks by 2% per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. Thaumaturge, increase your damage done with damage over time by 2% per stage. The one champion passive that kind of got preserved there. And then Biting Aura, increase your damage done with area of effect attacks by 2% per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages as well. And let's take a look at the bottom of the blue tree here. We've got Duelist Rebuff, reduce the damage taken by single target attacks by 2% per a stage. So it's kind of the counterpart to our damage abilities up there. We go down one and we have Riposte. When you block an attack from an enemy within 7 meters, you deal 4,800 physical damage back to the attacker on a 5-second cooldown, and it's going to cost you 50 points to get this passive, and it is making a show again in the CP. The next thing we have is Last Stand. You know what this does. Major Heroism when we drop below 20% health. This will also require 50 points in order to get, and it is on a 9-second cooldown. The star in the middle here is Reinforced. When you begin bracing, which would be blocking or holding block, you gain a damage shield that absorbs 5k damage for 3 seconds, and that is on a 10k cooldown. The next thing we have here is Cutting Defense. You deal 200 magic damage to attackers whenever they damage you with direct damage attack within 7 meters. And that's going to cost you 50 points. Kind of a nice kind of reflect passive to have access to there. Bulwark, when you have a shield or frost staff equipped, your spell and physical resistance is increased by 1900. We're seeing that make a return as well. It is going to cost you those 50 champion points though. Enduring Resolve reduces your damage taken by damage over time attacks by 2% per a stage. And then finally, we have Unassailable. Reduce the damage taken by area of effect attacks by 2% per stage. And these are both to a maximum of 5 stages. Counterparts, again, to the damage dealing points over there. And these passives here require you to invest in the trees before them. See how we have the yellow stars at the top here? You're going to have to put some points either in the nebula or down this tree in order to get full access to the stuff that you want here. Now, taking a look at this purple, I guess, nebula thing, we have got a bunch of other abilities in here, or passives. I like that they've done this because this just gives them more ability in the future to add things and continue to build on this champion system. So that's pretty cool there. The first thing we have here is Resilience. Grant 132 crit resist per a stage, reducing the damage you take from critical strikes by 2%. They actually are giving us the percent value there, and that's to a max of 5 stages. Now, in the middle, we have Quick Recovery, increase your healing taken by 1% per stage to a maximum of 5 stages. We're seeing that, again, make a return. We have Preparation, reduce the damage you take from non-player attacks by 3% per a stage. So this, I'm not sure if it will include things like proc sets, but it will definitely include PvE. And then we've got Elemental Aegis, reduce the damage you take from magical attacks by 1% per a stage. With the armor sets now giving you a weakness if you're in light or heavy armor, this could help offset the weakness that you get. And then finally we have Hardy, and that is the physical counterpart to the Elemental Aegis. Reduce the damage you take from martial attacks by 1% per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. Now, taking a look at the next purple area here, we have a bunch of other abilities, and these seem to be focused around dealing damage. Now, in the first one we have here is Piercing. Grants 350 offensive piercing per stage. That's going to be physical and spell penetration now, so that's really awesome again for that hybrid build. We have Flawless Ritual, increase your chance to apply a magical status effect by 30% per a stage. This is quite interesting. And then we have Battle Mastery, which will increase your chance to apply a martial status effect by 30% per a stage. So greatly amplifying our chances to add those status effects just ambiently with our different attacks and our weapons. And then we've got Mighty, grant 100 weapon and spell damage to martial attacks. And then we have War Mage, which is going to give you 100 weapon and spell damage to magical attacks. And these just have a single stage, and it'll cost you 30 points. So Buildcraft, you're going to have a ton of different options now. And not only that, but the way that this tree system is kind of set up, because you have to pull over the orbs for the special effects that you want, you actually aren't going to see a massive amount of power creep. I'm very curious to see how this will work out once we see it hit live, because there are a few players that have a ton of champion points. So will they be significantly more powerful than their counterparts? Honestly, if you have enough CP, no, I don't think they will. So it'll be really interesting, again, to see how this kind of plays out. Now, moving on to the red tree, we have got the Fitness tree. And this tree here seems to be focused, I think, around defensive stuff and sustain. Now, taking a look at the kind of 3 floating stars that just give you the raw stat, just like in our blue tree, we've got Boundless Vitality, which will give you 28 max health per a point, I believe. I think stage is a typo there. We've got Ironclad, which will give you 34.6 armor per a point spent. And then Rejuvenation, which will give you 3 health, magicka, and stamina recovery per a point spent. And these, of course, go up to a maximum of 50 points, just like our blue counterparts. Looking at the first yellow star, so this is the passive star that we don't actually have to slot on the bar up there, we have got Defiance. Reduce the cost of Break Free by 110 stamina per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. We've got Hardened. Increase the duration of the time that you are immune to crowd control by 3% per stage, maximum of 5. We got Peace of Mind. Increase the magicka and health recovery while immune to crowd control by 40 per a stage to a maximum of 5. And then we got Juggernaut. While immune to crowd control, you take 2% less damage per a stage. Interesting passives here, just kind of focused around getting stunned and breaking it. This will be very applicable in PvP. And then moving on to Slippery. When you are affected by a disabling effect, you automatically break free for no cost. After using this effect, you become winded and cannot trigger this effect or others like it for 21 seconds. This was a set that was added to the game a while ago that had this exact same effect, and they've put it into a champion point. This is massive for PvP, especially newer players who are going to be a little slower to react. This will be a huge deal. And of course, this can be really nice, I think, for PvE too. If you get yourself clipped in the wrong spot in a dungeon, this could end up saving you. Of course, this is going to cost you 50 points and you got to slot it. So there are some requirements to it. The next star we have here is Unchained. When you use Break Free, the cost of your next stamina ability used within 5 seconds is reduced by 11% per stage to a maximum of 5 stages. So a massive, so a bit of a nerf actually on Unchained there, and it's going to require you 50 points again in order to get it. The next yellow star we have here is Tumbling. This will reduce the cost of roll dodge by 120 stamina per a stage to a maximum of 4 stages on this guy. And it looks like you're going to have to spend 60 points actually to get all the stages on that. Looking down here, we have Rousing Speed, reduce the cost of sprint by 50 stamina per a stage while you are immune to crowd control. And then we've got Expert Evasion. Your next roll dodge is free of cost. After consuming this effect, you cannot gain it again for 30 seconds. So you just get a random free roll. That's pretty cool. That's going to be a big deal for roll sustain. The next yellow star we have, which is just going to give you that passive stat, reduce the duration of elemental status effects applied to you by 5% per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. And then we go up from here, we have Survival Instincts. While affected by a status effect, your core combat skills cost 5% less per a stage. That is a massive, massive resource cut, and negative effects are going to be everywhere in PvP. So this seems like it's going to be a good passive. We've got Tempered Soul, return to life after resurrection with 10% more resources per a stage. And then we've got Spirit Mastery, decrease the time it takes to resurrect an ally by 33%. And this is actually going to cost 33 points to get. Moving over to this next one here, we've got Arcane Alacrity. While shielded, your dodge roll costs 160 less stamina per a stage. That is an interesting passive there. Increase the effectiveness of our damage shields and damage against damage shielded enemies by 8% per a stage on Bastion. That is a massive buff to damage shields. And of course, it's going to be a massive change for damage against a shielded enemy. But wow, that is a massive buff to the defensive value of the shield on Bastion. Next thing we have is Shield Master. Reduce the cost of your shields by 2% per a stage. And then we've got Piercing Gauge, another yellow star. Increase your stealth detection by 1 meter per a stage. And that's to a maximum of 3 stages. And then we've got Hero's Vigor. You grant 280 max health per a stage to a maximum of 5 stages. And that's a yellow star as well. Working our way down to the next yellow star here, we have Sprinter. Reduce the cost of sprint by 20 stamina per a stage. And then we've got Hasty, the next yellow star. Increase your movement speed while sprinting by 2% per a stage. Then we got Bloody Renewal. Restore 300 stamina per stage whenever you kill an enemy. And then we've got the Magicka counterpart, Siphoning Spells. And then finally, we have Strategic Reserve. Gain 50 health recovery for every 10 ultimate that you have. That is super interesting. Health recovery for stacking ultimate. Very, very interesting. We've got some cool passives here so far. We've just got the last bit on the end here. Another yellow star, Fortification. Increase the amount of damage you can block by 4% per stage to a maximum of 5 stages. Tireless Guardian, reduce the cost of block by 20 stamina per a stage to a maximum of 5. Nimble Protector, increase your movement speed while bracing by 3% per a stage to a maximum of 5. Bracing, of course, is holding block, and that is a yellow star as well. Savage Defense, another yellow star, reduce the cost of bash by 45 stamina per a stage. And then we've got On Guard, while immune to crowd control, increase the amount of damage you can block by 2% per a stage to a maximum of 5. And then the last passive in our fitness tree here is Bashing Brutality. Increase your bash damage by 120 per a stage. And that is to a maximum of 5 as well. So we have a lot of combat-oriented abilities here, but they're definitely more on the defensive and reflexive side. There are a few, though, that can actually increase your damage, which is pretty cool. And then finally, guys, we have the crafting tree, and this is going to be your new green tree. Now, something you may have noticed is that there are no kind of purple zoom in star things or nebulas or whatever they're supposed to be called in the green or the red trees. And this again is something that I think will be added in the future as ZeniMax builds on this system. Now we're going to start with the yellow stars to begin. Again, those are the passive ones that you don't have to slot at the top here. And we have got Fleet Phantom. This will reduce the movement speed penalty of sneak by 5% per a stage to a maximum of 5. The next yellow one we have is Out of Sight. Reduce the radius you can be detected while sneaking by 1 meter per a stage to a maximum of 3. The next thing we have here is Hagler. Increase the cost at which merchants buy goods from you by 2% per stage to a maximum of 5. So a 10% increase sell prices. That is pretty sweet. The next yellow one we have here is Fortune's Favor. Increase the amount of gold you can find in treasure chests and safe boxes by 10% per stage to a maximum of 5. A 50% increase in the gold that you find. That will be nice. And then finally, we get the Inspiration Boost. Increase your crafting inspiration gain by 10% per stage to a maximum of 3 stages, and that will just help you level up your crafts faster. The next yellow star we have is Wanderer. Reduce the cost of Way Shrine usage by 10% per a stage. So there you go. A total of actually 100 points to hit all 5 stages on this, but that could definitely come in handy if you're teleporting around a lot. Reduce the fall damage that you take by 7% per stage on Breakfall, and that's to a maximum of 5 stages as well. And then the last yellow star in the green tree here is Steadfast Enchantment. Your weapon enchantments decay 20% slower per a stage. And yeah, that is kind of nice, but I'll be honest, not the biggest deal. Now, let's take a look at those white stars, and those are the ones that, of course, you have to slot up at the top of your bar here. The first one we have here is Friends in Low Places. Remove 1,000 gold from your bounty once per day when committing a crime where the bounty is added. You must be level 50 for this passive to activate, and your current bounty must be at or greater than 1,000, and that's 25 points to get that passive there. The next one we have is Infamous. Increase the value of fenced items by 15%. That'll be nice for thieving and stuff. Shadow Strike. When you kill an enemy with the Blade of Woe, you become invisible for 5 seconds after a short delay while distracting nearby enemies or potential witnesses. While under this effect, you can cast Blade of Woe. So you'll be able to just chain multiple Blade of Woes on people if you have this passive. That's pretty hilarious. Again, this has no impact on PvP. Cut Purse's Art. Increase the chance to get higher quality loot when pickpocketing. Nice to get more passives for that Ledger main skill. And then we've got Fade Away. Escaping from a guard wipes 25% of your current heat, but not bounty, and that'll cost you 50 points to get. The next star we have here is Meticulous Disassembly. Improves the chances of extracting woodworking ingredients and allows the refining of more powerful resins from raw materials. Now, this is actually the only one that I saw that does this. None of the other crafting trees have a 100-point passive like this, so this is a massive passive to get, and it leads me to believe that we'll be seeing some other things like this for our other crafting professions. We have Master Gatherer here. Reduce the time it takes to harvest by 10% per stage. That's a 50% harvest reduction. That, of course, is going to be the counterpart to Master Gatherer that we had before, and this will cost you 75 points. We have Treasure Hunter. Increase the quality of items you find in treasure chests. That is super awesome. Just help you get better loot. Namely, it's just going to increase the tier of gear from like green to blue and stuff. And then we've got Gifted Rider. Increase the mount speed by 2% per a stage. That's to a maximum of 5. So 100 points here, and you can have a faster horse. That is really awesome to see. We got War Mount. This is going to improve your mastery with mounts, removing all mount stamina costs outside of combat. So just allows you to ride around more, and you won't get knocked off your horse when you're riding around either. Plentiful Harvest. You have a 20% chance to gain double yield from normal resource nodes per a stage. Wow. So Plentiful Harvest used to be a 10% chance to get the double yield. Now you're going to be able to get it right up to 100% chance to get the double yield. That's a huge deal. So node farming is going to change. Honestly, with these changes here, I'm predicting that the value of mats will crash. But that's just what it kind of looks like. Again, none of this is final, but likely will be. Now, moving on to Homemaker here, you have a 10% chance to find a second furnishing plan whenever you find a furnishing plan in the world. That's pretty sweet, especially if you're trying to farm for rare furnishing recipes. And then finally, we've got Real Technique. Decrease the time it takes for fish to bite by 25%. Yeah, fishing sucks. 100 points in here. That would be really awesome. We got Angler's Instincts. Increase your chance of catching higher quality fish by 10%. Another awesome fishing passive. And then we've got Sustained in Shadows. Reduce the cost of sneak by 1% per a stage. Then we've got Liquid Efficiency. Whenever you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance not to consume it, and it's 75 points for that guy. Rationer adds 10 minutes to the duration of any eaten food or drink per stage to a maximum of 3 stages. This is going to be a big deal, namely for Psijic Ambrosias. And then we've got Soul Reservoir. When you resurrect yourself or another player, you have a 33% chance not to consume the Soul Gem, and that'll cost you 100 points to get that passive. And finally, we're going to take a look at the kind of floating stars that are in the green tree here, and this will just give you a base stat per point that you put in here. Again, it says reduce the cost of sneak by 1% per stage. I think that's a typo. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a point. And then in professional upkeep, we reduce the cost of repairing our armor by 1% per stage, up to, I think, a maximum of 50 again. Yep. And then last but not least, we have Steed's Blessing. Increase your out-of-combat movement speed by 1% per a point that you put in here to a maximum of 50. And I just locked the points in. It is actually a 50% boost. So that's like having a Wild Hunt ring pretty much at all times. So there you go, guys. Some massive, massive changes to the champion point system in just how it functions, in how you can switch between builds and stuff, and of course in just what the champion points do. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Please let me know down in the comment section below. If you want to check out the rest of the changes that are coming this patch, there's a link below to my PTS patch note breakdown, and you guys can see all the new sets and combat changes there as well. If you guys want to send in clips for the top 5, or if you guys want to send in a build to be featured on the channel, you can send that to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. Check out my website, KristoferESO.com, for written guides to all of my builds and a hub for all of my ESO content. Catch that live gameplay on Twitch, and of course, give me a follow on Twitter if you guys want to keep up to date with what's going on. We are sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers. They can give you better ping to your favorite games, and they are free to try for the first month. Link in the description below for you guys if you want to sign up. And then last but certainly not least, a massive thank you and a massive shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, I couldn't do this job, and I'm having a blast doing it. So thank you everybody for helping out. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. I again would love to hear your thoughts on this new system, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great night, everyone.